If they asked me to describe New World in one word, there is only one that comes to mind, and that is okay. New World feels like a simply okay game. I would say that about the first 20 levels of the game is kind of amazing. It was a great experience, everything was, a new world. I am 40 hours in at the time of this recording, and the beta is almost over. I soon find myself at the same repetitive quests that are basically in every MMO, where you are tasked to kill a certain amount of mobs or variants in a certain location, and then loot the chest for specific quest items, usually about 3, 5, 6 of them, and then you are gone. Go back, turn in the quest, get your little XP, a shitty green item that you will never use, and then move on to the next one. It's perfectly fine, at least in the context of New World, and partially due to the kind of clumsy action combat system that they have instead of the tap targeting, which I absolutely despise, and that is one of the reasons why I don't play many MMOs. And the ones that don't have tap targeting but they use action combat, such as Black Desert Online, get ruined sadly in other ways, which we will get to. With that said, I know a lot of people compare the combat to that of Dark Souls, and honestly I have to ask you one question. Did you only play Dark Souls 2, my dude? And I would argue that even that system is better, because here you are not even able to attack cancel, and that makes for scenarios where dodging is almost impossible a lot of times. Now I do know I wear heavy armor, and armor does affect like your roll and even your damage. Basically, if you wear heavy armor, you get damage resistance, but you get like this little shitty sidestep, which is kind of almost impossible to utilize after an attack. And if your equipment load is below a certain threshold that it makes it so you're light, then you can roll miles away, and you also get a 20% damage increase on all your attacks, which is kind of neat how you can just mix and match your character with different equipment in that aspect, and you don't really need to like spec into anything. Like, it's not like a talent, it's just, be naked and then roll miles away. However, that also means that you obviously get less armor, so you die more quickly if you do get hit, which is nice, it's neat. What I am really trying to convey here is that if you only watched the videos about the game, I don't think it comes across as kind of clunky. You could really have the idea about it that, oh my god, this is like Dark Souls, it must be amazing. When in reality, it's just, you just spam your light attacks, and occasionally you will use your Q, R and F ability. And that's about it. And then you will have like this standoffish phase with the enemies where you just stand there, block, and wait for their attack pattern to finish. You do have all your 6 skills on your equipped weapons available to you, because if I recall in the alpha, all of your skills share the cooldown. So now, instead of only having 3 skills at a time, you can actually use your secondary weapon and just quickly whip it out in the middle of the fight, use the skills on that, switch to your main weapon, and then use the skills on that as well, and then you rotate slowly. So there is kind of a micromanagement that you have to get used to if you want to get good, especially in PvP. It's not really necessary, you can just be casual about it, but eventually I'm certain you will get used to it. If you are good and quick about it, you can even change out your weapons in the middle of the fight. You can do that anytime when your skills are not on cooldown on either of your abilities. A few seconds ago you saw me open the store. We will definitely talk about that later. However, just want to make some game mechanics clear. You just saw me put down a camp. Everyone can do that. It's very cheap to build. You just have to get, I think, 5 or 6 green wood, which you can get from foraging bushes or cutting down a simple young tree, and a piece of flint. You put that down, you can craft there depending on your camp tier. You can even craft better stuff at it. And what that does, you can respawn there when you die, which you will see me do in a second in this small little PvP scenario. This is a fort, and forts are giving benefits to the controlling faction who controls it. But anyone can just wander in there and take it, even if they are like a solo player. Now we have like a 3-way Mexican standoff here with the Covenant dude and the Perpy boy shooting me from behind. And it won't end quite nicely for me. What is a bit odd about this scenario is that every zone has these forts, right? And any player can just walk in there. Doesn't matter if they are solo, doesn't matter if they are in a group. They basically just have to wait there for like a good 5 to 10 minutes. It's more so like 10, I believe. And then they will claim it for themselves. And if the controlling faction of the territory wants it back, they will come. Or even the other one if they want to interfere. Just so you saw it back there. To add to that, you can only PvP now if you enable PvP mode first at the sanctuary. Now sanctuary can be a settlement, or it can be those various teleport obelisks looking things around the map that has like a slight blue glow to it. I just got absolutely wrecked here, so I will whine to my faction who were probably already on the way since they got here so quickly. PvP feels, I guess it is okay. I prefer PvP in smaller groups like this when you are not in each other's way, which is kind of a problem. Not just in PvP scenarios, but if there are a bunch of dudes fighting together with each other in like a dungeon as well against PvE enemies, your body has collision. So you end up like blocking people. One time I was even annoying a Covenant guy doing his quests because he tried to kill me earlier, but he didn't have PvP on, and I did. So I just walked in front of a house that he went into with only one door in, and he got stuck there until he figured out how to use the unstuck button. So it is annoying, and you can even feel or see or experience some kind of, I don't know how to describe it. It's not really rubber banding, but your dudes definitely get in the way. In small PvP scenarios such as this, I think your loadout and gear highly matters. As you will see, this kind of dex-based player with a musket and I think a rapier can just roll miles away out of my reach, especially of my hammer, which is super slow and doesn't really have any ranged attacks. I usually use the hammer and the great axe in combination in PvP, but you can just pair it with anything. I encourage you to experience with it yourself, see what suits you, and because of that I especially encourage people to enable PvP early on, since I think there is some kind of damage scaling, at least it seems to be the case. Or I don't know, maybe the level difference between each other is not that big in these fights. It's really hard for me to see the enemy's level because it's kind of hard to see small black letters on like blood red background under their name. So when you start the game, I encourage you to try out different weapons. Maybe not at like until like level 10, because you kind of need something to get a bit of grip on the game. But after that, feel free, I think, to at least get 3 skills to like each different green drop that you will acquire. and test it for yourself. See what you are comfortable with, what you like. Now you also see me go into this player house here, two of them, and you can switch between the people who own the same place, because how it works, you don't actually build a house. The settlements have spots, like empty houses, that the players can buy if they have a certain amount of territory standing, which I think currently it is 10. And I do think that these houses display the person who owns it with the highest points. And I do think the points probably come from having more and more decoration and furniture in it. What's the point of it? Well, to show off, I guess. And probably, as you've seen, there was like an icon on the bed and the dog. I guess you can pet the dog, and you can sleep in your bed, which probably just regenerates your health. And when you die, you can also use that as a respawn point. Now you also see me just open up the governor's table. That's for the governing faction, which is a French Disneyland related faction. I don't know. They are big in the Marauders on this server. And they can set the taxes, they can start new projects, and you help complete those projects by doing stuff. You also saw me go up to the war board earlier, which wasn't active at the time because there was no wars going on. So that means that a faction has to get a certain amount of territory standing in said zone, and then they can declare war on the faction. And then you go to that fort that we were earlier, and that's where the 50 versus 50 battle will take place, I think. And the thing about that is, when you sign up to the war, I think it is someone in the governing clan or guild that will decide if you get into the battle, because there are only a certain amount of slots, right? 50 to be precise. And they will choose or don't who gets in. You can choose to do these faction PvP missions, which in every zone take place in the exact same area for every faction all the time. So each faction obviously will go and do those missions to gain territory standings. And that's what you see here. We are fighting over it. One of them is like stand in a certain area for a couple of minutes, like 2. The other is get intel, kill some NPCs sometimes, or what we had to do before this was to cut some wood, simply. Now you see this person trying to run away a lot, and that is why I chosen to use the axe, which was my main weapon, by the way. But it has a move that grabs people, kind of like a DK in Warcraft with the death grip. Back then, I don't even know if that is still an ability. And it also has like this, the graviton well, which like slows them down, and it will take a while for them to get out of there. So you can have like nice little combos with it. I just went for maximum damage, because that's what I like to try at first. I probably will go something similar to Dex. You can respec. I think the first respec is free, at least in the beta it was. And then after that it will cost Azot, which is kind of like this currency that will supposedly be also sold at the store, the real, real money store. And before we get into that, let me just say that this ridiculous costume that is also sold as a skin just looks like something, I don't know, it reminds me of ABBA, the Swedish pop group in the 70s. Have you heard of them? No? No? Dancing Queen? Anyone? No? Anyway. Or like those people who claim to met Nordic aliens and they all dress like that. I don't know. I don't know what I'm about. It just, I don't know. I don't like it. It's weird. People who also got into the wars, those 50 versus 50 things that I did mention, they also said the performance there is quite poor, and I suspect they have much better machines than I do, because mine is quite outdated. like the frame rate dropping to 20 to 30. I am running the game on low, medium, low, however you want to say it. It's not that bad. However, in this section the performance did get pretty not really choppy, but I did see like frame drops, sort of rubber bandy, textures not really loading, micro stutters when you enter to the settlements that are like really populated with peoples at certain times. So that is something that they definitely need to work on, or at least I hope they will. So let's reach a conclusion here. I think New World has potential. The developers are willing to listen since they already changed their game once. And they do ask for people's opinions. There are surveys that they ask you kindly to fill out upon exiting the game in case you opt into that. So I went into New World without expectations, and I do feel like I came away from it without any. I don't know what else could they change in a month, which is the release date, supposedly. Unless they have like something hidden, like an advanced build. The crafting and gathering part of it is actually really appealing to me. I just kind of wish I could, you know, build a house anywhere and be destroyable. Perhaps not on like a Rust or Conan Exiles level, but you know, something lighter that you could show off in the middle of the wilderness, come across, walk in, do something in it. I don't know. I kind of want this to be more of a survival game, since it's already kind of PvP focused, so why not? I think the key to success here is if they like go off the rails even more from the traditional stuff, because people don't really want another theme park, another sandbox MMO. They want something that has been proven to work. You know, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You just have to combine certain things, make a new potion, and maybe that potion will be a love potion. So who do you voodoo? That's what I ask you, Amazon. Even if they do something like BDO, just don't ruin it with store items, with buying of power, because we don't need that shit. People love Korean MMOs for a reason, and that reason is usually the gameplay and the variety of systems and the shit you can do in it. And you can do the same, but in the West, it's not that hard. Like, if you are smart about it, this could be like really amazing. Over time, definitely not on release, however. One plus about that I should mention is that apparently you don't have to pay a subscription model, and that is the only reason I would ever buy. That's how I feel. The game is okay, but currently and sadly, if there is only 1 month left, I don't think it could be more than that. At least for now. In the future maybe. And I'm hoping it will be. I enjoyed what I played. It became repetitive. And I don't know what the end game is here. Because you can't just send factions pointlessly against each other for no reason. And yeah, figure something out. Make it nice. Make it work. You know, that's how you sell copies. And I'm out. See ya.